Hey Harmonizers, welcome to this update with Cadbury, where we're going to get to me doing the first ride at home, which is pretty exciting because at this point it's probably been more than a month, probably a couple months since he was in Virginia and had the first ride with Joe. And then just with other things going on and giving him some time off over the summer, now getting him back under saddle has been a whole process in itself. Here's a little bit of some of the groundwork before getting back on, including doing the ponying, which just puts the girth around his belly and having somebody else riding from up top. And then here's a look at some of the groundwork, so getting him to go over some jumps while having the saddle on board, getting him to really feel that girth, which has kind of been a thing that's just been ongoing, him seeming more sensitive around his belly and taking a long time to have confidence with that. And I know a lot of people would be like, oh, like, you know, maybe he's got pain or something, but he also struggled with just standing over top of a pole. So even if he doesn't have a saddle or anything on, literally just standing over a pole that's not touching him at all, just being really reluctant to have something underneath his belly was very scary for him. So here's a little look now with the saddle on where I'm doing move your hips and move sideways, getting him to cross his legs so he feels that saddle and the girth. And also as they go sideways and cross their leg a whole bunch, that really helps them to relax and settle in their body. And here's doing a little bit from the other side, now going over a pole. So that shows you a fair bit of how much he's been progressing with things under his belly. But you can tell it's a little sticky for him, like it's a little slow and careful as we get him to figure that out. But we managed to get sideways over the pole, so big accomplishment there. And of course, I didn't want to make this video massively long, so I've cut out lots of sections for you guys, just sharing some highlights. So this is an example of traveling circles, which is where we basically go around the ring doing the groundwork, practicing having lots of time of him trotting and moving with the saddle, but I'm moving around the ring, going from different poles to other poles or different targets in the ring. So it's not just super boring me chase you around in circles for 20 minutes. It's actually, let's go over here, let's go right, let's go left, let's make a transition, let's go over these poles, now let's go over a jump over here, now let's go around this bridge that's over there. So there's a bunch of variety, and I love to say stay out of a routine, stay in a conversation. And then that helps Cadbury keep looking at me and checking in on me and not getting to a place where he thinks he's just being chased around in a circle. And that's an important thing to bring up because lunging is very helpful for horses to, in this case, practice that movement while having something on his back, and yet not do too much of it because it could be very disconnecting where the horse just perceives you as chasing them around. So after him being really comfortable wearing the saddle and doing lots of that preparation work, now it's time to actually bring him back to the mounting block for the first time since being in Virginia to actually do my first ride solo on my own. And when I did the ride in Virginia, so Joe did his first ride solo on him, and then he gave me essentially a pony ride on Cadbury where I did hold my reins and I did start to ask him to back up and cue him myself. But this would be my first time getting on him completely by myself, nobody leading him, and me riding him fully on my own. And I want to make sure I do things slowly, safely, really carefully. I want to avoid any big blow-ups or anything like that. So what you're seeing here is me reaching over top of his back to offer him a cookie on the opposite side while making sure I kind of rub him all over his body, rock on that saddle a little bit, make sure he can move around the mounting block. And I like them to do that so I can see that they come into position willingly and ready. If he had a really hard time with being able to stand where I could get on him, then it could show me that he needs more time with practicing that step. Now, I don't expect him to stand absolutely perfect, meaning he's perfectly positioned. I expect him to be close enough that I can easily get on. But if you get too nitpicky about the little details, then it's totally understandable that the horse could be like, oh my gosh, this is frustrating. What do you want? Like, I can't figure out the answer. So instead, I just get him reasonably close, and then I just got off afterwards. I want to praise him, take him away. And so then I bring him back to do it again. So now I've sped up the video footage times 2 because I did not want to turn this into a 30-minute video for you guys. But I also wanted to show you a fair bit of the process of how much repetition, how much I just kind of slowly guide him into the spot where I want him, giving him that cookie, rubbing him all over, getting on him, offering more cookies, dismounting. And the reason why I get off and come back is because I want to give him that opportunity to let his brain kind of reset. And then here what I'm doing is I'm steering from back in that saddle position. So I'm standing where the saddle is. I've got my hands over top of him so I can hold the reins on either side. And then I'm practicing steering both left and right. And then I'm switching sides, so I practice sitting on the other side of his belly, and then I'm purposefully being very close to his body, letting my body touch his body, so you can see me do lots of patting of his belly. I want to make sure that I really make sure he's ready for me to get on him. And I don't want it to be like, oh, I was being so slow and so careful and not really touching him, and then I get on him and my leg accidentally bumps him a little too hard, or it swings, or I lost my balance for a second, because then he could get super overwhelmed very easily. So as much as I can on the ground or beforehand, I want to give him time to experience that, bump around on him, so it's not going to be overwhelming when I'm actually on his back. And then I give his brain that chance to kind of go, oh, like that wasn't so bad, and then we try it again and we do a little bit more, so that way he gets that time he needs to think and process. So here's an example. I'm sitting on him, giving him cookie both left and right sides. I move my legs around a little bit on him. I'm just sitting there, petting him, making sure that I'm present and being there. So I'm not pretending to not exist. I'm not sitting so still that I'm not really there. And then I ask him to take his one little step. He takes one little step and I praise him, giving him those pets, gonna give him his little cookie, and just make sure he feels like $1 million for taking one little step and listening to me about where to go. And then I can ask him to try again, and I do a little bit of a turn to help him unstick his feet and understand I really do want him to move. So I'm not asking for a lot. Like I'm not like you can see my legs sitting on him there. I'm not whacking his sides trying to get him to go. I give him like a little nudge, turn a little bit, and then I give him praise and give him a cookie for actually getting his couple little steps there, and trying to build up his confidence that like, yeah, like that's what I'm asking you to do. And now let's try it again after giving him some time to think about that. You can see I get a few more steps each time I ask him to go. And hopefully now it's probably sinking in why I definitely sped up the footage times 2, because otherwise this would just be a super slow video. But to me, that's what good horse training is. It would be like watching paint dry, very, very slow, careful, and trying to avoid those moments where a horse gets overwhelmed and feels the need to buck off the human or buck off the saddle. There's going to be some moments for sure starting Mustangs where they do get overwhelmed, or that does feel a little bit weird or iffy, and they might have a little jump or buck in it. Oh no, like what is that moment? That's reasonable for that to happen, but I try to avoid all of that as much as I can, especially with my own body being the thing up there, because I am fragile and I can get hurt, and I don't want that to happen. That's why I've got a safety vest on and a helmet on. And so we're just going over all of the little basics, with lots of times to rub him in between. And what I was working on there is moving his hip a little bit, moving him both to the right and the left. And then here I'm asking him for sideways, where I was bumping him with my right leg. And he would know these things because that's what I do on the ground as well, as I practice moving his hip, the sideways, all of those pieces. So then it starts to make sense to him while I'm on his back as well, because I'm doing essentially the same thing. And here's a little back up, which again is something that we've practiced on the ground. And that's the beauty of doing the groundwork, is that you can help teach your horse the answers to a lot of these puzzles or a lot of these requests that we're asking them to do. And then because they've gotten a chance to work through that and have positive reinforcement afterwards, they're not so scared when you go to do that on their back, and you're able to avoid a lot of those moments where they potentially could feel overwhelmed, because it is totally different having a person on their back and having legs at their sides and taking that direction from somebody up above. But doing the groundwork definitely helps that flow a lot better. So now asking him to move, and you can see that's starting to get a lot softer, a lot more flowy, a lot less choppy. Even though I've got the video footage sped up ×2, you can see that it's getting much easier for him to move forward. And here I'm putting the left leg on him, and I was asking him to just take a little side step over to the right by using my left leg, and there you can see he gives me even better cross legs. So I'm giving him even more praise, even a cookie there. I want him to know that my legs don't just mean go, it can be moving in different directions. Sometimes it's sideways, sometimes it's forward, sometimes it's move the hips, sometimes it moves the shoulders, and you can see all of those pieces are happening there. He gets his little cookie for doing that. And I find that horses really do learn so much faster when we offer them positive reinforcement, offer them a little cookie, scratch. But cookies are in general faster. It's almost like oh wow, like we did that, I get a cookie. And so it avoids a lot of that anxiety that can come up in training, where horses can get overwhelmed and like, oh my gosh, we're doing this, now we're doing that, and like, what are you doing now? And instead it can be, oh, okay, like we did a little bit of this, oh, okay, that's what you wanted, I got the cookie. And sometimes they can start to get excited to do the task that you're asking them to do. Like they almost get this sense where you feel that they're really proud of figuring out what it is that you were asking them to do, and they feel like accomplished and like, oh, I'm going to get the cookie. And if you've ever ridden a horse that gets cookies while riding for doing the things that you want them to do, you'll know what I'm talking about. They kind of like look at you out of the side of their eye like, hello, is that what you wanted me to do? Where they'll even give you little knickers and things like, is that what earns me the cookie? So it's pretty cute, helps to keep it really fun for both of us. And I find it lets me get more done in a session, because this is his very first solo ride with me, where I'm riding completely on my own on his back. And this is also his first ride where he's being asked to do things like a forehand turn, a haunch turn, moving sideways. It's the first time he's ever been asked for those things, because Joe's ride was his first time having a person solo on his back, and it was just walking forwards, turning and stopping, pretty basic. And then when I was led on him, it was also very basic of just walking forward, stopping, backing up. And so now it's move your hips, move your shoulders, move sideways, back up. We're doing lots of little pieces. And this whole ride overall was, I think originally it was about 13 minutes of me actually on his back in full. And we got all of this done, where I show you the complete clip so you can see that it didn't take me 30 minutes of repeating one task, for example. Instead, it's just do a little bit forward, do a little hip, give him a cookie afterwards to reinforce that's the thing that I want to do. And he's like, oh, okay, this is pretty awesome. So afterwards, I hop off having a really good ride and give him some good scratches. And then I just check in that he was able to follow me, which helps give me that feedback that it wasn't too overwhelming and he didn't feel the need to get away from me. So let me know what you guys think. Remember to subscribe and check out harmonyhorsemanship.com for even more learning.